This is YGTV and YG One-on-One. I'm your host, Paul M. Neuberger, CEO of the Young Guns Movement. Today, we're on set at Serendipity Labs, going one-on-one with Jon Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals. Welcome to YG One-on-One, sponsored by Right Now Media at Work, Flex Scripts, and C12. On YGTV, we bring action-oriented entrepreneurs and free thinkers to the stage, so we can be inspired, informed, and better understand how we can grow by breaking the rules of business. This show is a long-form sit-down with a CEO, business leader, or luminary to learn how they got there and what they can teach us. For more content shaking up the business industry, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's go. Today we welcome Jon Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals. Jon, wonderful to have you here today.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, any chance that I have to talk about sports is certainly something I want to jump on. And I know when it comes to sports, there's not too many people that are more passionate than you. Have you always been passionate about sports, or did this develop later in life?
Yeah, certainly. I've been doing this now for 36 years. So, all the way back to when I was, a sophomore in high school. It really even started before that when I was in 6th grade, when I wrote a letter to Bud Selig saying I wanted to be a bat boy. Because I told my parents, this is something I want to do. I want to be a bat boy for the Brewers. And they said, well, you should probably send a letter to them and tell them that you're interested. And really knowing nothing about how to do that, or to who to send it to, I sent it right to the owner of the team and sent him a letter. And I still have his response at home in my scrapbook. He sent me a letter right back that just said I wasn't old enough, because at that point I was only in 6th grade. I remember because in the letter I wrote, I kind of talked about how I wanted to go to Marquette High School and I wanted to get good grades, and got my driver's license and immediately reached out to the Brewers and to the people that he recommended, and they had me come and spend a day there at the end of the 1983 season, learning from the bat boys who were there, and spent that day there, and what a thrill. I mean, all my heroes were sitting literally from me to you. That passion, I grew up loving the Brewers.
Is the importance of the why people do what they do. And I can't imagine a lot of people ask you, well, why the heck would you want to be in professional sports? It's like a dream job to most people. I find myself getting jealous of people like you from time to time. But what is it about sports specifically that is so appealing to you? Because I think everybody's why is a little bit different. What is it about sports that you love so much?
What I love about it is that it's different every day. In the office or with a promotion, you get to be creative every day. You surround yourself with insanely creative people. It's just really fun every single day. And I'm not getting any younger, but it feels like everything I do keeps me young.
Sure. So, I think a lot of individuals have an idea of what professional sports is all about. You talk about the Brewers, now it's been a little bit different this year because of COVID and everything else, but you go to the game, you have a good time, you have your beer, you have your brat, and you go home. What one or two things happen on the other side of the fence, the business side of professional sports, that most people don't realize that you would like to share with them?
Sure. Well, absolutely. I mean, a promotion often takes 6 or 7 months to put together. It's not like you can just snap your fingers one day and look, there's bobbleheads. It takes a long time to be able to do those types of things, and so it requires a lot of planning, a lot of brainstorming. Our planning for the next season often starts while the current season is still going on, so we don't wait until everything's over before we get started getting ready for the next year. A lot of times, the nice thing about being in minor league sports is you can be a little bit more reactive to current events. That's kind of fun to be able to do. So sometimes on a Tuesday night, we might say, oh, look, it was Michael Phelps just got caught for doing something he shouldn't be doing, which is one of the big promotions or fun things that we did. It wasn't necessarily a big ticket selling thing, but it got us enormous attention. He got caught for smoking something he shouldn't be doing, and we created a Don't Be Like Mike night to kind of play off of the Be Like Mike thing from Michael Jordan. We went with Don't Be Like Mike, and we had a whole thing where if your name was Mike, if your name had anything to do with any type of drugs or anything like that, it was just a whole crazy thing. And it ended up getting picked up by Sports Illustrated. It wasn't, I don't know if it was the sign of the apocalypse, but it might have been in the Sports Illustrated. But we came up with different things to just kind of create that news of the day thing that you could jump on that major league teams can't necessarily do. So a lot of the things that, I used to think when I was at the Brewers, well, we ought to try doing this. It's like, well, that's kind of a minor league thing to do. Well, I'm in the minor leagues now.
Yeah.
Let's pull out this file of stuff that we said we couldn't do and go ahead and do it. So probably my favorite one of all those in my time has been, we did jock straps as a promotional item because everybody's an athletic supporter. So that was kind of our theme that we went with for that. And trying to sell that during the summertime to sponsors. We really wanted to do this. One of the first things I did when I came to the Admirals was I got everybody this book entitled Fun is Good, and it was by Mike Veck. And Mike's father, Bill, Bill Veck was like the great sports promoter, and his son kind of took that lead, and then he wrote a book called Fun is Good. And in his book, he talked about how he had pushed all these teams that he worked for over time, that he really wanted to do this jockstrap promotion because everybody's an athletic supporter. So nobody would ever do it. And so we were like, we're going to do that. And we went out and pitched it to sponsors, and they all laughed hysterically. And then we're like, we can't do that. So, it was a lot of people who just didn't want to have that sense of humor or didn't feel comfortable with it. Eventually went to Hockey Haven, which is a local sports hockey outfitter here in town, and they jumped on it. Just to be able to do those types of things you can't do in major league sports that you can do in minor league sports, it just makes a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that really fascinates me. So just what that process must be like. I mean, so if you talk about Don't Be Like Mike night, that made it out there. Everybody's an athletic supporter. Jockstrap night, that made it out there. If those made the cut, I can't imagine the things that didn't make the cut, how crazy these ideas must be. So there's a bit of a two-part question. One, describe to me what the... We're just getting started. Let's take a quick break and come back for more with Jon Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals. This episode of YG One-on-One on YG TV is brought to you by Right Now Media at Work, Flex Scripts, and C12.
Welcome to Right Now Media at Work, an on-demand library of video resources used by Christian business leaders to care for employees, inspire leaders, and cultivate a healthy team. Serve your employees with over 20,000 videos on topics like professional development, mental health, and leadership from leaders like Patrick Lencioni, Henry Cloud, and John Maxwell, plus marriage, parenting, and personal finance content. Help your employees become better at home and better at work. Schedule a free demo today to get an in-depth tour of Right Now Media at Work.
If you're a CEO, listen up. Odds are you're paying too much for your employee benefit pharmacy spend. How do I know? I work with Flex Scripts. They're the PBM police, delivering their average client 15 to 20% savings on their pharmacy benefits. Think how much money that is. Flex Scripts makes sure your PBM keeps their promises and meets your guarantees. And if they don't, Flex Scripts holds them accountable and gets you what you deserve. Stop paying too much for your pharmacy benefits. Get Flex Scripts, the PBM police, on your side. Start the conversation today at flexscripts.com. That's flexscripts.com. On YGTV, we talk about being a strong leader, being focused and pushing the envelope. Many of you are hard chargers, but truth be told, we all could use a sounding board and some accountability along the way. Through a peer group format, the C12 group gathers a dedicated group of leaders who want bigger, better businesses and share your Christian values. The C12 Group is the largest and fastest growing faith-based business peer advisory group in the world, and they are now expanding right here in the Milwaukee area. If you're a CEO or business owner and want to find out if you qualify for one of these groups, contact my friend Chris Wise at 920-969-8070 or go to c12group.com, the letter C, 12group.com. The C12 Group, building great businesses for a greater purpose. Meetings must be like how you get your team to be so insanely creative. I mean, how do you do that? What is the process like? And then for individuals that are not in professional sports that are watching this, what lessons can they take from that process to get their teams to be as creative as possible?
Yeah, we always talk about how there's not a box. You know, you hear think outside the box. Think outside the box. It's like there's no box. We just don't have a box. All ideas are good, and whether they become anything is, to be developed. But don't be bashful about throwing an idea out. When I do our brainstorming meetings, it involves the entire company. So it's our owner all the way down to our interns, and everybody's opinion is valued equally. So we put up the whiteboards and we sit in a room and we say, okay, theme ideas, go. And we tell people ahead of time they have to do this. They can do their research, whether they go to minor league baseball teams' websites or college websites or teams, people in Europe that are doing crazy stuff. We'll go and find ideas from everywhere. And then we'll look up, what are the important themes or important milestones in our community that are coming up over the course of a year that we might want to have some fun with. Somebody's birthday. Teddy Roosevelt was shot here 100 years ago. We should do a bobblehead, So, which we did, and there's
something worth commemorating.
Yeah,
sure.
So what was literally right outside the front door of our building. So, we were actually able to do a history lesson for people who didn't understand it. So we explained to them what happened, and now, it's like, well, we educated people too, so it was fun. But all of the ideas are out there. They're all on whiteboards. Those whiteboards are kept in our VP of Corporate Development's office, Mike Wojciechowski. He's got them all over his wall. He looks at them every day and says, we should really try and do this thing this year. And how can we do it? The problem is we only have 38 games. So we may have 500 ideas by the time we're done, but we only have 38 games. So what are we going to do to find the best things to do? And then we also, we leave some space to breathe. So those maybe news of the day items might be able to be things that we also will add on. So what I would tell people is just don't limit yourself. Make sure you're listening to everybody. Just because somebody might be new to your organization or maybe has a role that doesn't necessarily fit in creative thinking doesn't mean that they don't have creative ideas. Offer everyone the opportunity to be part of it.
Yeah, well, that's very sage advice for sure. One of the things that I love about you, Jon, because you and I have known each other for a while, we've been friends for a while, is you're just a very humble, salt of the earth guy, but you're also a very successful person as well. So when did you start to notice that you had this knack for business? When did you start to realize, hey, maybe I've got this business savvy gene, I see things in a way that other people don't? Can you describe when that light bulb kind of went on where you said, hey, I think I got a knack for this leadership business thing? I think it really started during my time with the Brewers after I kind of settled into my role as the Director of Media Relations, which started in 1994. Prior to that, I started my full-time career there in 1989. And so those 5 years just kind of, learning my way of how being a full-time employee and what all that meant and just trying to do the work I needed to do. But then in 1994, I became the director and I started being included in more meetings and things like that. And I think more ideas, I felt more comfortable sharing in those settings. And some of my ideas were things that were, brought to fruition. And I think at that point I was like, maybe I do have a future doing this, and I don't have to just say this is as far as this is going to go for me. And then when Harris Turr came along and said he wanted me to come and be the president of the Admirals, that conversation really was, I found out he was going to become the owner, and he called me. I was in my apartment in spring training, getting ready for another baseball season, and he
called and said, hey, I'm going to buy the Admirals and I'm looking for a president. And the first thing that ran through my head was, oh, sure, I've got some names for you. There's some people I could certainly recommend, for you for that. And he stopped me and he said, no, I want you. And it really stopped me in my tracks for quite a while. And he's like, are you still there? So it took me a little bit of time to process that because, I always joke, I said, I'm not even the president of my own house. So, to have that type of responsibility, which certainly added a lot of things that I had never done before. A lot of administration and budgeting and financial stuff that, at the Brewers, you didn't have to do that kind of stuff. You were responsible for your department and that was it. But then to come there and then, realize that the best thing I could do is surround myself with the most talented people. And we really built from the bottom up there because when we came in, there were only 4 people even in the organization. It was on life support when we got there. And those 4 people were Phil Whitliff, who was the general manager, the hockey guy, Mike Wojciechowski, as I mentioned before, who this year is going to be going into his 40th season working for the Admirals, which is crazy. Charlie Larson, who's our VP of Communications, and John Bitter, who's our Vice President of Ticket Sales. And those 4 guys were it. And thank God that they're still with us, all of them, because that institutional knowledge was crucial to us being successful. But we were able to then build and hire and find creative people and bring them around. And I can't do this by myself, nor should I try. Surround myself with the best possible people I can, and then find that way to be able to run this organization.
Yeah, and I think it's a big testament to your leadership. As I said, you are a very humble, modest man, but I don't think that these superstar employees are sticking around this long by accident, which does lead me into my next question is, for these organizations that have talented employees, it's rare to have a sizable number of these not only very talented people, but these very talented people that stick around with you. I mean, talented people can be hard to keep because you can't really keep these people quiet. Other people notice their talent. Other people notice their skill set. And now you got to kind of ward off some of these people that might kind of try to steal them away. So again, another 2-part question. I like to ask 2-part questions after all. Part 1 is, what have you been able to do from a culture perspective at the Admirals to keep this top talent that long? And number 2, what advice would you give to other individuals that are running businesses or leading organizations to keep their top players for as long as you have?
Yeah, certainly, we're incredibly proud of the tenure of our staff. All those people that we hired back when we first came in 2005, with the exception of 1, are still with us. And the one that's not with us retired. So we're really proud of the fact that they've stuck around, and they all wanted to be part of our reinvention of the Admirals. And we tried to give people as much flexibility in their jobs as possible, really make that job your own. Working under the umbrella of what, as an organization, we're trying to accomplish. But I don't micromanage. Obviously I did public relations and media relations for a long time when I came to the Admirals, but Charlie is our VP of Communications. That's his job. I don't stand over his shoulder and watch him write every press release. He's in charge of doing all these things and letting his job really grow, and he's really done a remarkable job with that. So I think what we've tried to do is basically hire the best people, the most creative people we can, and get out of the way. While we're a small organization and we do have goals to meet, we get there when everybody is doing this together. We set ticket sales goals that lead to bonuses at the end of the year. We don't rely just on the ticket sales staff to sell the tickets. It's everybody doing that. So when it comes time every year for our annual game for charity, and we're trying to fill the building to raise money for Children's Hospital, it requires the entire organization to be out there doing that. So at the end of the year, because everybody's participated in those ticket sales goals that we're trying to get to, everybody's rewarded for being part of it. So we've really worked hard to try and make the organization feel like we're all in this together. There's an esprit de corps. We have an enormous amount of fun because what we do is really fun. And I've told people, it's like, if we can't show people that we're having fun, if we can't look like we're having fun, they're not going to have fun either. So we're a big part of that entertainment that goes around, despite the fact we're not out there playing. And people have bought into what we're doing, and they want to be part of the entire experience that we're offering, and I think that's why people will stay. What I would say to business owners is like, figure out what it is that you are trying to accomplish, but realize that your people are your most important asset, and how you make them feel and how you treat them and how you treat their families. Knowing obviously the size of your company is going to dictate how well you know your employees, but in our case, I know who our families, I know the wives' names, the kids' names, all those types of things. It's important. I mean, we're all in this together, and we're part of a family.
Yeah, and talking about family, there's a family of sports fans out there. There's a family of hockey lovers, football lovers, basketball lovers, whatever the case may be. And this year, I think in particular, has been challenging for some of those families because there's a lot of politics now in sports. And it almost kind of seems like, to some degree, it's more than it has been previously. I know, speaking for my family in particular, I've got extended family that don't even watch the Packers anymore because they didn't come out for the national anthem on the very first game. I know, again, you've got people on both sides of the aisle, but I know the NBA has come under some controversy for having some political statements on jerseys as well as the basketball courts. I understand on one side of the aisle why people like that freedom of expression. That makes sense to me. I also know that on the other side of the aisle, this is a business as well, and if you turn off half your population or a quarter of your population, that can hurt the revenue side of the things. Being the president of the Milwaukee Admirals, how has your organization as a franchise dealt with this issue, and what are your thoughts on the merger of politics and professional sports as a whole? Yeah,
well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, we haven't really played since March 11th, so a lot of the stuff that's gone on, we've not been around to with our athletes to be dealing with them on this. Our players are all employees of the Nashville Predators, so certainly there's some guidance from above as to what is expected of players. We do have our own viewpoint of what players should be doing. We hope that they're respectful of the national anthem and respectful of we understand that there's a lot going on in the community, and we're finding ways a lot of times behind the scenes to be able to try and do what we can do to improve our community. But at the end of the day, we're here to provide a 2.5-hour break from all the things that are going on out there. So when you come to an Admirals game, we want you to just relax, have fun, get out of your seat and scream for a goal, yell at the referee, whatever you want to do. But we're here to give you a break. So when you come out to an Admirals game, just you know that we're not going to be putting that stuff out there like right in front of you. And we think our players are really focused on doing their jobs because their goal is to get to the next level. They're literally an inch away from making it to the NHL, which is the ultimate goal. It's the best league in the world. We're in the second best league in the world. They want to get from second to first. And they're going to do everything they can as players to provide a good show on the ice, play well, so that they can get to the next level.
What would you say, and this is probably like asking you to choose between your children, so it's not the easiest question in the world, but what would you say is your favorite Milwaukee Admirals moment?
Oh, golly, that's a good question. There's been a million of them. Certainly, I think it was going to happen this year, which was going to be to win a championship, and then unfortunately that was taken away from us because we stopped playing. But, I think it was, for me personally, Pekka Rinne, who is our goaltender. He started his professional career here, played for 3 years. Then he went to the NHL, where he's become a superstar. And he had been injured, so he got sent down to Milwaukee for a couple of games just to get himself back up to speed. And he came out on the ice, and I'd never seen that many people show up for a warm-up before, and they were there. The energy in the building was so exciting, and we won the game 9-1. And he was named the #1 star, despite the fact that he didn't score any of the goals. And he, after the game was over, he stayed and signed autographs for as many people as wanted to do it. And when we go and visit with him in Nashville, all he talks about is how great Milwaukee was, and asks questions about our people. And just, to have those relationships, to me, has been the best thing. But that particular instant, I think, was the one that really stood above the rest.
Sure. Would you define the city of Milwaukee specifically, but I guess the state of Wisconsin generally, as a hockey town, as a hockey state? And if not, how has that presented a challenge for you trying to do the things that you're trying to do with the Admirals?
Yeah, I would say that we've helped grow it. I don't think we are there yet. Certainly we have a great team in Madison with the UW men and women's hockey teams. But we're working on growing the game from the ground up, that grassroots level with youth hockey, high school hockey. We're trying to be as involved with that as we possibly can. The more we can get people to love the game, the better. We know that when people come to an Admirals game, once they have that experience, that they're going to walk out and say, I have to do that again. That's how we grow the game. We also don't have any control over what happens on the ice on a night-to-night basis, but we do have control over all of the entertainment that goes around the game. So that's where we try to win every game, in that you might come to an Admirals game and we might lose 4-1, and that looked very good, and the game was, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, did you see that promotion or that thing they did in intermission, and the music that they played, and all the things that went around the game? Which is why our corporate partners are so important, because we wouldn't be able to do a lot of those things without their help. So that's how we win. And we've been honored twice by our league for having the best fan experience. And that to us is important to us as winning the Calder Cup, is to be able to have that best fan experience.
Yeah, and that's certainly a testament to the team that you've surrounded yourself with, you as well. I mean, that's a pretty prestigious award, and to have won that multiple times, that's pretty outstanding. What lessons can be learned from that, from other businesses or organizations that might be watching this? Maybe they say, well, we're not a professional hockey team, we're not a professional sports team, we don't have all these giveaways, or we can't make somebody a human hockey puck that's going to go down and knock down those bowling pins. But I think what you're talking about is something that's important. You don't have control on the product per se. We lose 4-1, whatever the case may be, but we're giving the audience a very good experience. What lessons can be learned from that from business owners that are not in professional sports? Well,
I think, I'm trying to make sure that how you present your product and how you present your company is the most important thing. What do people think of your company? When they see the name of your company, what's the first thing that comes into their head? Is it something that makes them smile? Is it something that makes them feel good inside? Is it something that says, oh yeah, the next time I need X, that's where I have to go to get X? And I think really that all goes to the culture. That's why it's all so intertwined, is that it's the people that work there have to really believe in what you're doing. The product that you're making has to be the best it can be. It has to set itself aside from the competition. And then how you tell people your story about why what you're doing is so important, I think, is crucial. So it's all those things put together are so important as to how any business really, in my opinion, should be trying to put itself forward.
Sure, that's good advice. And then I think a good leader like you doesn't become a good leader in a vacuum. It doesn't just automatically happen. I think to some degree, and I don't like that question, are good leaders born or made? I think it's a combination of the two. You have the prerequisite skills, the DNA, the makeup, but you also are in an environment that fosters that growth. You learn from other good leaders that makes you the leader that you are today. So with that being said, Jon Greenberg, who is the greatest leader you ever served under?
Oh gosh, Bud Selig, for sure. His office when I first started my career was literally the next office over. So sometimes you could hear him when things maybe weren't going quite so well. But a lot of times, he would call you into his office and he would just want to tell you that you've done a good job with something. And that coming, when I was starting off my career, to have the owner of the Major League Baseball team is one of the most powerful people in sports come and tell you something like that was incredible. But I've also learned from him is building consensus. That it's not always just your idea that's the right one. It's which one will the most people support. That's why he was so successful as a commissioner. Very rarely did he ever call for a vote on something without knowing what the result of that vote was going to be. That type of leadership, how he was able to work with all of the Major League Baseball owners, who are a very diverse group of people, very successful in their own rights in very big ways, probably more successful than he was. Being in a small market. But they respected what he brought to the table and how he was able to bring people together. And that is absolutely something that I've learned and something that I've tried to carry forward. And I've told him on multiple occasions how much working for him has meant to me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, Bud Selig is a larger-than-life figure for sure. And I grew up an avid baseball fan. And as I was really getting into Major League Baseball, passionate about it, he was the owner of the Brewers, he was the commissioner, so it's hard not to love baseball and not be familiar with Bud Selig. And the people that I talk to that also know him, to a T, they all say the same thing. Humble man, wonderful man, servant leader, somebody that's really good and kind to other people. So it's certainly not a coincidence that all these people are saying these similar things about him. So I appreciate you sharing that. As we start running out of time here, John, one of the questions that I'd have is if we start looking back on things, and you had said earlier you're not getting any younger. I think we're all in that same boat for sure. But as your time with the Admirals moves forward, and it's at some point whenever you call it quits, what would you like the legacy of the Milwaukee Admirals to be? What does that look like? Where are you trying to get this organization so that when you do finally step away, whenever that is, you can look back and say, I helped create that? What would you love the legacy of the Milwaukee Admirals to be?
Well, I think it's just that we're an important part of the community, on and off the ice. That people look at us and say, yeah, they do it right there. They treat their people the right way. They provide us with great entertainment. They keep the value of that entertainment so that we can all afford to see it. That to me is really, really important, and I hope that people will always feel that way. That we just at the end of the day we're entertaining. We're successful on and off the ice. I wouldn't mind winning a championship before I'm done. Doing this for as long as I have. I don't have any championship rings yet, so that's top of my list is trying to get one of those. So, but just that when people look at the Admirals, they think of it as something that they feel proud to support.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of pride, I'm proud to call you my friend. I'm proud that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to join us on the set for YG One-on-One. And on behalf of a lot of Wisconsinites and citizens of the Milwaukee area, we're also proud of what you've done with the Milwaukee Admirals. So it was wonderful to talk to you, John, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Great. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks to John for sitting down on set right here at Serendipity Labs, sponsored by Right Now Media at Work, Flex Scripts, and C12. We want to feature the CEOs and executives that inspire you. Let us know who you'd like to see by connecting with us on our website or social media. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode of YGTV. I'm your host, Paul M. Neuberger, CEO of the Young Guns Movement. We'll see you next time.